one of my guests, because we got 3 on tonight, so we have a great panel. He's been on the past couple shows. Shout out to H Rap B. Let's bring him in.
What's happening?
Oh, good to see you.
Family.
Good to see you. All right, let's bring in. He's a coworker and a friend, brother from another mother.
What's going on?
What's going on?
How y'all doing?
Well, my man David Wilkes.
All right, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you perfect.
All right.
Be there tomorrow at work too, I'm assuming.
Of course.
And then let me bring in Ivan Dawkins, man. We go back, man, since 2000. Was that 6 or something like that? Bring him in, good friend. What's going on?
What's going on with it? How y'all doing, brothers?
Good. How's it going?
Fantastic, man.
Right.
Ready to get into this.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring a group of guys together from different areas. I mean, you guys, I'm assuming you guys probably don't know each other. So let's do an introduction here to give you opportunity to say who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into the talks on the movies. But A-Trap, I'll go to you first.
Well, I'm H-Rap B, built for this network. I'm a podcaster also. Me and Ben used to be on the same network. I do a podcast tomorrow night on sports and Saturday on community empowerment. I got a couple other things in the works, but I'm a conversationalist. That's why I'm on tonight.
All right.
In Chicago.
All right, Chi-Town.
All right.
All right, Wilkes.
Yeah, so I'm here down in Dallas right now. I work with Ben. Got the pleasure to know him over the years. And, of course, I usually just post my food on Facebook because I like to make them hungry when I'm cooking, but nothing serious, just a little something. But that's about it. And I enjoy my music. And, you know, I'm, of course, doing customer service at work and whatnot. But, you know, I try to give my support to you gentlemen and your podcast. You know, I'm all about that success. So as much as I can back you up.
Yeah, appreciate it. He is a chef. Okay, don't let him fool you. He posts food videos. Nah, this dude need to have a restaurant in downtown Dallas somewhere. We working on the food.
Don't do that, man. Don't do that.
His number is 1-800. No, all right, Ivan Dawkins.
Yes, sir. Well, he stole my thunder and said my name. I kind of like saying my name myself. You know, I've been practicing since 71, you know. But, yeah, Ivan Dawkins, I am me and my business partner own a water damage restoration company, and born and raised in DFW. I'm staying a little east of us right now in Forney.
All right. Nice. All right. So let's give a couple of shout-outs. Chief Rock is in the building on the chat room. John Fisher, thank you for coming through. Irene Hunt. Let me know what you guys thought of the movie. And I'll give my kind of introduction. So the picture you see behind me is an actual image from the movie. So you can see Malcolm X, who was into photography, which I didn't know that. You could also see Muhammad Ali on the other side. You don't see Sam Cooke. You don't see Jim Brown in the photo, but they are there as well. But I'm going to go to Wilkes first. Give me your initial thoughts on the movie.
Yeah, so, you know, that era alone is always so, I guess, depicted, and it's heavy. My mom was born in 1963, and, you know, my parents, my grandparents are dead and gone, but, you know, them living through that era and just, you know, when I see movies like that, it's almost like you're transported to that time, because it's like, you know what it represented. You know it was the turbulent 60s and just the weight of the moment. What I also learned, and like you said earlier when you started, I didn't know that the friendship was like that with the gentleman. I didn't. When you see documentaries about these gentlemen, they don't really dive into that personal side too much, or about friendships, because I guess they've all been on their path and, you know, trailblazing. So I enjoyed the movie. I didn't know Regina King did it until the end, but I think it was done amazingly. The one thing that brought this movie full circle for me is, if we've all watched the Spike Lee joint, toward the crescendo that they were getting to Denzel Washington, his version, when they were about to assassinate Malcolm X, they were playing Sam Cooke, A Change Is Gonna Come. Well, in this movie, Regina King did the exact same thing. She had Sam Cooke singing A Change Is Gonna Come, but they didn't show the Malcolm X death in this movie. But I just thought it was kind of full circle how they still put those songs. It was almost like it's a nod or something to Malcolm X and the turbulent 60s and things that happened then. But I really enjoyed the movie. I'd watch it again. I thought Sam Cooke was portrayed well. I know there's a few things out there about Sam's life and how he was just kind of a loose cannon at times, but I didn't know Jim Brown. I know he was an actor when he left the NFL, but I didn't know he had left that early at such a young age.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he was on his way to, the NFL, still, breaking records and setting records. But yeah, him moving on to Hollywood and of course Cassius Clay, I'm gonna call him, I'm gonna call him Clay. Exactly. So it's just one of those things where it's just I enjoyed it. I don't want to hog the spotlight and take away from it, but I enjoyed it. It was good. It was good.
Yeah. And Regina King, man, wow. Going from 227 to now.
Right.
I mean, like the things that she's done.
Yeah.
And now where she is, directing movies to me just shows, number one, we all getting old or older.
Right.
And number two, like she's done everything in this business.
Yes.
And I got a lot of respect for her. All right, A-Trap, I'm gonna go to you. Give me your initial thoughts.
I mean, I thought it was an excellent situation. Me being a history buff and my parents being part of the movement, I was aware of a lot of these things, but it was just good to see it live in action. And I like the different point of views. I looked at it as a movie about freedom because all of them were talking about freedom,
right,
and different methods of freedom. And it's like a microcosm of what the true issue in our community is. A lot of people say we don't have unity, but what we don't do is listen to each other enough. And because I see freedom, it's like Sam saw freedom financially, Jim saw freedom with business-wise, Ali saw freedom by doing exactly what I want to do when I want to do it, and Malcolm wanted to have them galvanize and use all of their hands because he knew what time it was. So that's what I really got.
Yeah, and a great comment, Micah Baldwin. Regina King is a great producer and highlighting true greatness. I agree there. Shout out to a couple people, Courtney Harper and Justin Caraway. All right, we'll go to you, Ivan.
All right, yeah. So I'm a sucker for movies that are inspired by true events, For the record, of course, they took some creative liberties with the project, but it was inspired by true events, So they don't really know what the conversation was, but this was their interpretation of what the conversation might have been and how the night may have been spent, So for that, like I said, I thought the project was well done. Regina King. We cannot say her name enough because she showed out, okay? And, she has other projects out there that our community probably wouldn't even give a shot to, such as Watchmen. She's in. It's kind of like a little superhero flick on, I can't remember if it's on Amazon Prime Video or whatever. But she's killing it, so she did a fantastic job with that. And that's difficult to do when you have a project that does not really change scenes very often. Mm-hmm. The bulk of this project, let's say 65% of it, 60% of it took place in that hotel room. And when you have one set and got to pull off a movie to keep folks' attention, they did a fantastic job,
Yeah, I agree. And this, I would kind of compare this to May's Black Bottoms. Was that the name of that movie? May Rainey. Because that was in one room. Like at some point I'm like, I get it, but y'all gotta walk out the door.
Right, so we can go stay around this piano all day.
We don't see no sunlight or anything. Come on. But I appreciate how the conversation went. And as we kind of, you kick off the movie. We gotta give some spoilers. If you ain't seen it yet, I'm sorry.
That's
But at the beginning of the movie, Muhammad Ali, who was Cassius Clay at that time, was playing around with this fighter. He ended up winning. I couldn't tell if he won or not because at the end of the scene, it kind of transitioned, to something else.
Yeah.
But the guy that played him, I think his name is Eli. I think it's Eli Gore or Goree is his last name.
Goree.
Yeah, Goree. Yeah.
But he did a great job, man. Just to be able to get the swing, get the talk down.
Right.
I felt like I was listening to Muhammad Ali, and that's extremely difficult to do. Knowing that Will Smith has did it, knowing that plenty of people have played Muhammad Ali, to be able to do that, I thought was great. And then as you go throughout the movie, you got to see the other characters and how they were portrayed. And I'll pose this question to you guys: do you think they selected the right people for each role? And I love the guy that plays Sam Cooke, who's also in Hamilton. Leslie Odom. That's a talented guy. But I'll pose that to you guys, whoever wants to jump in first.
Yeah, I think they did a fantastic job with casting, actually. In fact, as I, kind of watched the movie, that's one of the things that I paid attention to, because Cassius Clay / Muhammad Ali, he ain't easy to pull off. You got to have some charisma. You got to have, you got to be good looking. You got to be funny, and you got to be kind of deep, because Muhammad Ali, especially when he became Muhammad Ali, got deeper as he got older, Right. So that cat, Eli Goree, who plays Muhammad Ali or Cassius Clay in the movie, he's actually a Canadian dude, and he's done some projects like Ballers, The 100, and Riverdale. And then the cat that played Malcolm X, Kingsley Ben-Adir, he is British. He's a British actor, So that was interesting to me because you can't pick up accent or anything like that in it. So I think casting was fantastic. And Leslie Odom Jr. can sing with an A. But when I see that boy can sing, Spotify looking at some of his stuff, man, he that good.
Yeah, he's a great actor too.
Yeah,
and I know people may not like Hamilton because it's a lot of singing. I get it, but the way they put that together is amazing. He was a major part of that. So that's a side story. You can go check that out. But A-Trap or Wilkes, you want to jump in on that at all?
I wanted to go back, kind of what A-Trap was saying. It's like the weight of that moment that I mentioned. I felt like times they were leaning on Malcolm X to carry that moment because, like you said, there was financial freedom, there was business freedom, but then there was also that knowledge that Malcolm X was just trying to get them to harness and use that and put that back into something positive and constructive. I mean, and how they kind of touched on, like, he felt like his time was at the end, but he was trying to, if I can, it was almost like, if I can get one to understand, that's that's enough. That's the battle I'm winning right there. Because if I can get one on my side, at least I can get that to go forward, and it don't fall on deaf ears. I think that moment with Malcolm X and Jim Brown, and then Malcolm X and Sam Cooke, I just felt like he was trying to just nail that into Sam Cooke. Like, man, look, I get it. You're writing these songs that sound great, but what is that getting you? Like, I can help you tap into that deeper if I can just get you to, understand that you have this power, you have this stage, and this platform. And I just felt like there were moments in the movie where Regina King tapped into that, here's the weight of what Malcolm X is trying to do, and before it's dead and gone, and he takes it to the grave. You hear a lot of pastors saying, there's a lot of dead people that are pregnant. Well, they're pregnant because they're pregnant with knowledge. So, you just have that moment where like you want to, like, he's trying to get it out. So it's just one of those things where I felt like it was a heavy moment when they were talking in that room. And like you said, there was some stuff that probably it may be emphasis and expanded on, but it was a heavy moment. Like, you could tell he was trying.
Yeah, and then the point where you put that other record on, that hit Sam to his soul. That at that minute, he was like, all right, I gotta go.
Right. He couldn't put a mic on me.
John talking, man. I gotta go.
A-Trap, you want to comment on that?
Oh yeah, most definitely. That Sam Cooke thing was powerful because you can clearly see Jim Brown is a powerful man physically and mentally, but he doesn't have the dynamic charisma to jump out and grab people. Muhammad Ali was too young to be the leader. Malcolm X knew he was checking out. Right. When you read the book, you knew he was checking out, and as you watch the film, he never said it, but he knew my time's limited, and he knew, Sam, you have the business acumen of a Jim Brown, you have the charisma of Muhammad Ali, and you have the leadership ability of me. So I need you to stop going, and I need you to step up to the plate. And that's what really grabbed me about this. And maybe we get into this a little later. I hope I'm not stepping on your toes. But
you good?
The truly ironic thing about that, Muhammad Ali, Sam Cooke died 11 months later, almost to the day.
Yeah.
And Malcolm X was assassinated 364 days later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a year later. It was like, wow, like it's crazy.
Almost to the day.
Yeah.
I found that
had a birthday last Friday.
Yeah.
Yep.
I found that extremely interesting. February 21st, 1965, Malcolm X was assassinated. And that was February 25th, 1964. So yeah, almost to the day. And the most interesting thing is the people he was trying to speak to was involved in him being assassinated. Like that's the part, like you're trying to deliver a message to someone,
right? But
are they really receiving it? Mm-hmm. And that goes back to what happened to him at the end. The other interesting tidbits was Louis X. I don't know if you heard that part in the movie early on.
Yes.
That was, now that part I don't know if it was true or not, but that was kind of opened my mind. Like, wow, I didn't know how that relationship was. And then the guy at the door, and I'll come to you. The guy at the door with kind of the smart remarks and the funny looks, and you see the people outside. So she gave you the suspense. Like you knew that obviously Malcolm X died, but she gave you the little tidbits of the stuff that you were like, oh, I wish you went further into that. And I think that's great movie play and great screenwriting. Go ahead, A-Trap.
Louis, I'm a gigantic fan of Malcolm X. Louis X is loosely played in the movie as well. The dude we know as Raj from What's Happening. That's Louis X.
Really?
Okay. I didn't notice that.
Wow. Wow. That's
a lot of people don't know that Spike Lee is also loosely based on Red Fox. Shorty is a combination of another character and Red Fox.
Nice, man. That knowledge.
Yeah.
Dropping the knowledge.
Definitely. So throughout the movie, you can see that Malcolm was, which Wilkes, you touched on this. He was trying to drive that point home to like so much that he almost like popped the blood vessel as much as he was trying to get that point across. And then he cried, and then Jim Brown was like, "Oh, what's really going on?" I know you're trying to prove the point, but like let's get to the deeper part of it. And so a certain part in the movie, obviously said Cassius Clay, he was Clay. He wasn't Muhammad Ali. When he stepped out, started talking to the press. That was at that moment where he said, "I'm now Muhammad Ali," and he had Malcolm X come out there with him. I thought that was huh? Oh, you're right.
Yeah, initially.
And I thought that was like a powerful moment because just as people, period, when you feel like somebody does you wrong, it's sometimes hard to be like, I still need you. Like I still see value in you. You're still someone that I want you to step out here with me. I thought that was probably the most powerful point in the movie. And so what was the most powerful point in the movie for you guys? I'll go to you, Dawkins.
Yeah, well, to me, just the entire hotel scene in general, especially the banter between Malcolm X, and Sam Cooke. That's the meat of the movie for me. You know, that's where your steak and potatoes is right there. And Malcolm X, again, was trying to get him to wake up. I need you to use your voice. These are all the tools that you have. Sam Cooke was busy defending himself, saying, but I am doing stuff for the black community because I'm leading this way. I own the rights to my, records and writings and things of that nature. And the example he gave about the song that he wrote that the Rolling Stones covered and how he made more money by somebody else covering it because of the royalties than he did by his artist taking it to 94 on the R&B charts, So he was trying to say, in my own way, I am making a difference. And Malcolm X was basically trying to tell him, I'm not saying you're not making a difference. I'm just telling you how much more you can do. And part of proving that is he says, look, this is how I support you. You didn't even know I was at that show, and I can tell you the specifics of what went on at the show. So I support you, even though it seems like I'm dogging you right now. I'm not. I'm trying to build you up. And to me, that's one of those little micro nuggets that basically gave a picture into how men and black men can really compensate to build each other up,
Right.
And this time they were talking about is awfully similar to the time we're living in right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's amazing just to kind of piggyback off of that. It's like that's a message to the future, and it's not going to stop. Like, it's just going to continue to just drop nuggets and just have the weight of those moments that echo. It's like it's just what you choose to do with it in that moment and how you run with those things. But I just felt like that was for me also too, I just felt like that was a significant moment.
Yeah. All right, A-Trap.
Yeah, to piggyback, I think Ivan said it. Both of you guys said Ivan and the other gentleman. I can't see your name. I apologize.
Wilkes.
Wilkes, Ivan. To piggyback off what you two said, and it is a microcosm, like I stated earlier. What we saw in this movie is a microcosm of what's going on in the community. Sam Cooke, just put it in today's instances, context. Sam Cooke is literally defending, in today's world, rap music. I'm just making money. I'm gonna get the bag and I'm gonna help people out.
Right.
And he's saying, no, we don't need you. We don't need another hip hop artist. We need more Chuck D's and KRS-Ones so you can get out there and get involved. It's an African tradition, a Shanti tradition that states that the ancestors will continue to reach back and show you history time and time again until you stop making that mistake. And I don't want to get into it real deep, but it's this one instance that I'll tell you about a little later that as a matter of fact, I can do it real fast just to show you how the ancestors do work like that. Yeah, you guys in Texas, right? Y'all was in Texas. This Juneteenth came to prominence last year. Everybody was celebrating Juneteenth because on Memorial Day, George Floyd was murdered, right? George Floyd is in Galveston, Texas, where Juneteenth was born.
Wow.
Now, George Floyd was murdered on Memorial Day. Here we are celebrating George being a nationwide uprising for justice for our community on the 100-year anniversary of the Tulsa, Oklahoma attack on Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Man.
That happened 100 years ago on Memorial Day.
Wow.
So as Sam Cooke and Malcolm X had this conversation, here we are 60 years later, 55 years later, having the exact same conversation about a different genre of music, but making the same mistakes.
Wow.
So it's a tradition that your ancestors will continue to put your past in your face until you study your past and learn from it so you can then move forward.
Right. That's powerful right there. And to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, like the rap industry, besides a select few, is telling you to do something that is going to be destructive. At the end of the day, that's what it is. It's not saying, hey, pick up a book. It's telling you, hey, get these drugs right here, pack it up, cut it, and all that stuff that they say. and then sell it to your own community. Like, how is that benefiting anybody?
Yeah, I saw something real quick where it said, "Yeah, I'm from the era that showed you how to sell the drugs, but today they showing you how to use the drugs." Like, oh, yeah. So it's just, you're right. Yeah.
Vivian Easley, thank you for coming through. Eat Lemons. Okay, appreciate you as well. Greg White. Yeah, man. A-Trap, anytime A-Trap is on the show, it's a knowledge bomb going to be dropped constantly. Right. I wish I had a drop I can hit for that. But, the part on the rooftop, too, because it was like different levels of it. It went from, let's just have this conversation, and also it had the comedy. When it was like, okay, we just could eat some ice cream. That's all we doing. Like, we're not going out. Like, we're not doing anything. It was like, well, I got ice cream. It was like, what kind? Vanilla. He was like, that's all you got? I mean, so.
Ironic.
Exactly. So it was, the way it was put together, I thought, I couldn't look away. Some movies you like, I'm just going to be on my phone while I'm looking at this because it's really not. But this was one you couldn't look away because you didn't want to miss something that grasped you, or something that you didn't want to lose. Right. But on the rooftop is kind of where it hit that. It was starting that was when they got some fresh air. I think that it kind of calmed down. Malcolm X went to the car, got the camera, and then it was playing with his camera. Like, Malcolm X was not having it. Like, give me my camera. You know how much money this cost? Like, he was obviously he was heated. But as you can see in this photo that's behind me, he's smiling with the camera. So I didn't know, and David Wilkes, you brought this up to me, I think last week when I talked about you coming on, is that the passion that he had for photography. And that was something I did not know, but you could see, like, the way you felt about that camera was how some people feel about, like, Jordans or their PS5 or whatever. Right. So I want you guys to kind of touch on that scene on the roof. And Wilkes, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I felt like even with the fireworks in the background, I just felt like all of that was just kind of hitting on different notes of, like, we're in the moment that can be extraordinary. We're surrounded by these things that can be beautiful if we stop and look and just take the time. But we can't not get distracted by those things that glimmer like that, because it's just one of those things where there is still much work to be done. And like I said, I think it was also kind of good for them to have a little comedy in there and kind of go back and forth. But I thought it was a significant moment. I just felt like you said, that movie just had so many layers and significant moments and small nuances where it was just, man, I like you said, I wouldn't mess with my phone or tablet. I was looking right into that screen. I mean, it was pretty big. It was a big moment. I thought it was huge for that. That whole movie just had so many different elements to it.
Yeah, and it was just so many different times where you're like, wow, that's something I didn't know, or wow, that was something that person had a passion in that you did not know. All right, Dawkins, I'll go to you.
Yeah, the rooftop scene for me, and this is a point that I don't think can be missed about the film in general, is the fact that it showed that we as Black men are vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And I think the rooftop scene is when that vulnerability really started to show. And, with all the struggles that we have, again, we've used the word microcosm, right? Mm-hmm. And it was a snippet of what men go through today. I think that was another message that was given in the film, right? So Mr. Powers, his name Kent Powers, the guy who, kind of wrote the play or whatever, he said that when he envisioned this, he saw four superheroes basically in the room together. He called them the Avengers, the Black Avengers or whatever. And in essence, that's what they were. They were superheroes. They were, they each had their own power, right? One was fighting, one was football, one was, speaking, public speaking, the other one was music, right? So they have all these powers, but he also showed their weaknesses, their vulnerabilities, and that's what Black men struggle with today. We all got a power. We all got this gift, that was given from above, right? And yet we all have these weaknesses. For us, we want to show our power. We want to show our strength, but we don't want our vulnerability to be shown. And they do that in this short period of time.
Yeah, true. Very true. All right, A-Trap.
Oh, well, I took something else from the rooftop thing. The rooftop thing, it symbolizes stages of life to me, because you get caught up in one thing. And again, an African tradition it says me at a certain age, and it means like I'm 50 personally. I'm 50, but I still have the 30-year-old age rap. I still got the 25-year-old age rap. I still got the 15-year-old age rap. It's still in me.
Right.
You got the young Muhammad Ali, the young bull. He on the come. You got Jim Brown, who, for all intents and purposes, he's like middle age because he's 28 years old. Sam Cooke is a little older. And think about it. They start teasing Malcolm. Oh, man, go on here with that 40 slang. You the old man, and stop telling us, old man, get off my lawn. Another thing that was captured in this movie that you have to really be paying close attention to, I didn't catch it until the second viewing, is Malcolm X has this saying, they'll get one of us to kill one of us so they can blame one of us, right? Mm-hmm. When they are allegedly on that roof, chilling, laughing and joking, no stress, because ain't no need for protection or anything. But the FOI dude bust out as soon as they get in there. They get to Tusker, bust out. Later on with the picture, right after he took that picture that's right behind you, Malcolm walks up to the window, see the very dude consorting with the FBI dudes, and he had told Jim Brown earlier in the movie, it's the same dudes follow me around. He look out the window and see the same dude who worked with the FBI. And my man Wilkes mentioned in the other documentary on Netflix that the FBI is trailing him, and when you read the book, the FBI trailing me. So it was layered, like you said, it's layered, and you have to pay, like you guys said, you have to pay extremely close attention. This is one of those movies like The Godfather. Every time you watch The Godfather, I've been watching The Godfather every year. I see something new, and if you watch this movie enough times, you will see something new every time.
Yeah, and I only watched it once, so I know I'm going back to watch it again. That's the the greatness of a movie. When you watch it one time and you just like, oh, that was good, but when you have to watch it again to get whatever tidbits and stuff that you missed. That to me is greatness right there. And this is again Regina King and what she's done with this. Shout out to KLS, also Chrisman. Thank you guys for coming through. Give us your thoughts on the movie if you've seen it yet. If you haven't, that's your homework assignment. You need to go see it. Talk to a friend or family with Amazon Prime, and you can watch that. I would highly suggest that you do that. So, like we said, it was different stages of the movie. A couple of things that I would have wanted to see. Again, this was a great film, but always, we got to talk about both sides. I wanted to see a little bit more of the background on like some of the other characters, maybe a little bit deeper possibly, which I know it's 190 in Miami, so you can't really do that, but a little bit of a snippet or something. But you did see with Jim Brown, I thought that was a great scene where he goes up to that guy's house.
Yes.
They're having a great conversation. It's all like, everything's good. And then when he says, oh, I can help you move that furniture, he was like, oh, we don't let niggas in the house. And I was like, whoa. I thought you just said you would do anything for him.
Yeah,
so that scene, obviously that scene, then the one with Sam Cooke, he's there with his wife, and she's like, why aren't we staying at the other hotel with the other black people? Like that was another, little bit of something that you got. And then one thing I did appreciate was the conversation that Malcolm X was having with his daughter and with his wife. And I think too, we missed the fact that a lot of these men, so Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, a lot of these guys had a woman behind them that it was not easy for them. Like I'm sure there was situations where they were like, "Hey, we need you at home. Like the kids need this, I need that, like whatever it may be." So to be able to show that aspect of it, I appreciate that. And then kind of what the conversation they were having, like, "Hey, did you talk to him yet?" It was like they were working together and partnering together. So those are a couple of things that. If we could get a little bit more of it, but I appreciate what she did do because, again, this was about one moment in time. It wasn't about their whole lives. So if anybody wanted to touch on anything else that you maybe wanted to see? Wilkes, I'll go to you.
I guess really I don't have much there, but because like I said, I was already, you know, the job that was already done by Regina King and others, you know, and I know some of this was probably kind of added, but just that talk and just that moment that Malcolm X, like I said, I feel like just the weight of that moment and him just trying to stress the powers that they had, kind of going off what Mr. Dawkins said, but it's just one of those things where, you know, I think I would have liked to seen the scene if they would have went into the diner or whatnot, but I think it was just the way it was done. It still had left that layer of mystery there, but you still had that weight that they were leaning on Malcolm X to kind of, hey, I need you to drive this home. You know, you could just, it almost like it just engulfed that moment. But I thought it was pretty good at that point.
Yeah, and that's a movie though. Like you can't get everything you want, or else it would just be like, you know, they gave us everything we wanted, and that's it. But now that's why you want to go back and see it. Like, did I miss something?
Right.
So Dawkins, I'll go to you.
Yeah, my mama used to always tell me, always leave them wanting more.
Yeah.
You know, and that's exactly what they did. I want a bunch more in a bunch of different aspects. But that's not to say that the meal wasn't good already, right?
Right.
You talked about Sam Cooke, him and his wife being in that hotel, right? Well, if you notice, she said, you haven't sung to me in a long time. Real quick, she just told you they done been having some problems. Right. You know, and he was the one that wanted to party. He sent her home that day.
Yeah.
And he walked in the room where the ladies at? Yeah. He didn't say it so nicely though, Jim Brown. Like, shit, man, I had other plans tonight. You know?
I wouldn't go eat ice cream with y'all.
They always trying to get where the women was, you know. So yeah, it's just some little nuggets. That's all she did. Gave you a piece of it, you know, so you can understand. Okay, this was the situation with these guys to give you. That's the background she was giving you, right? Yeah. But her entire project, I think, what she wanted it to be is thought provoking. Right. You know, she wanted to be thought provoking on a couple of different issues. You know, and I think she accomplished that goal.
Yeah, definitely. All right, A-Truck.
Well, it wasn't anything more I wanted to see, but to piggyback off Ivan again, what I really appreciated was Regina King as a woman showing the importance of these women, as you stated, and then tying everything into it. It started off Sam Cooke at the Copacabana. Everybody in the world at that time wanted to be at the Copacabana. We don't want you here. We don't care how famous and how good you seem. Get your black behind out of here. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Then you got Jim Brown, the most popular athlete on the earth at this point. Yeah, you cool. You the pride of the state. Don't bring your black behind him. You can't bring your black behind in my house. Yeah. Then you show the false equivalency with the Malcolm X situation and Elijah Muhammad. They pretty much call them the Black Plus Klan on television. So you know the whole world is thinking that. I remember at one point I read that they call those brothers the boogeymen. And then Muhammad Ali, y'all bankrolling me. Y'all told, but you can't pick my friends. So at the end of the day, what that message to me was, we all we have. So whether you are super rich and famous,
wow,
you are the greatest thinker of your time, if you're the greatest orator of your time, or the greatest of all time, you better stay your black behind in your lane, or we gonna have something for you.
Right.
True.
See, I know it ain't my turn, but I gotta say this about this deal, right? So we talked about how different they were, right? Well, one of the things that I got out of this is that it takes all kinds. We need to be different in order to accomplish this. You know, one of the things that Sam Cooke said, he said, see, you trying to get your slice of the pie and as big a slice as you can. He said, hey, I want the recipe. And I'm one of them, I want the recipe jokers.
Right.
I'm trying to get behind enemy lines to figure out how y'all doing it. So I'm going to dress like y'all dress. I'm going to talk like y'all talk. I'm going to go where y'all go so I can get the recipe. And guess what? I'm gonna bring the recipe back.
Yeah. Right.
That
was powerful.
Yeah, it takes all kinds.
That was powerful because sometimes we just want we just want what's on the front end. But on the back end, it's like so much more. We owning when he talked about owning his masters.
Right.
There's artists now that don't own their masters. There's contracts that they're signing where I think it's Master P was talking about this. It's like a 360 or a 160 deal or something. 360. Where like all of your stuff is basically tied up into this contract, and you got to go to the record label to pretty much get anything. You don't own anything. So like for him to be able to talk about that during that time, he was powerful because if anybody ever watched the show that used to be on BET, what was it called? Unsung. When they go throughout the documentary, they say, "Oh man, we was living it. We was making all type of music," and then at the end, they're like, "Well, we didn't own the masters, and this dude owned it, so now we all homeless." Like that's how most of them documentaries went, which is sad. But if you look at what Sam Cooke did, and I mean that had to have been probably before the times.
Yeah.
So like that was powerful right there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I really appreciate it, but that's something I preach on my Saturday show a lot, and I use it in the context of whether you're a Jewish person, a Catholic person, a Protestant, Baptist, a Muslim. We don't really care. It's not important what your beliefs are. If you are LGBTQ or whatever, we have to stop figuring out a new way to divide ourselves. Because during that time, as Jim Brown stated, it was light skin, dark skin. Now we just ventured off into all these different places. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna send it to you. I'm gonna send this picture to you in a little while. Ben, it has this. It has it was a series of actors, and they go, I'm black and Italian. I'm black and this. I'm black and that. I'm black and that. And then it has this hillbilly on the side saying, "Well, y'all all niggas to me." And until we realize that gay, straight, or whatever God you believe in, that's how they see us.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because Jim Brown was obviously I knew Jim Brown was deep. He didn't have any he had a few major moments and the major points that he made, but that one was like, Malcolm, you know what I'm saying? He was like, well, I was like, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, that was really like that. Like Malcolm, I think, needed that moment, but everybody else gone, and it felt like he was able to release and break down. Because you see that he cried in that moment. You see that he was like, that was when he almost popped a blood vessel at that point in the movie because he was so focused, and then he was doing that. Why was okay? Look, it's so funny, but why was his finger so small? I was like, man, that was a funny part of the movie. Now, what was the funniest point in the movie to you guys? For me, it was funny and it was serious when Jim Brown said, "You ain't got no job, brother."
Yeah.
And Malcolm was like, he was like, you get what I'm saying, but that was funny because it was like we're all working, we're working. You are doing something, but you're not getting a paycheck, technically, and that also related to Sam Cooke on the roof, where he was like, which one of us is not fitting in this group.
Right. Yeah.
So I thought that was the funniest moment for me. Wilkes, I'll go to you.
For me, it had to be when they were playing Keep Away with the Camera. I mean, that brother was not having any of that business. But he was like, man, y'all know what this camera costs? But it was just one of the moments for me. But it was serious because he's like, okay, this is my passion, but you're playing with my passion, but y'all want to make it funny at the moment, but I'm trying to be serious. So I thought that was pretty funny to me.
Don't start playing with my money.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, Dawkins.
Still, for me, the funniest part was about the fact that they wanted to party. They was trying to get the women.
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali or Cassius Clay during the situation, before he went to the restroom, they were like, yeah, I want some women, you know, and then Jim Brown was like, man, I need to give me some. Cassius Clay go to the bathroom, wash his hands and come out and said, come on, man, let's go somewhere. You know, Jim getting blue balls, you know. So it's just like they were light, they wasn't, you know, they was just tripping, you know. So that piece for me was just, I mean, I couldn't stop laughing at that part.
Yeah. Hey, Trap.
Yeah, it's the roof scene. It was the "you ain't got no job" because I kept thinking, man, they call him Malcolm X Tommy, and when he was like, when he stopped for a second, it's like you showed the human side of Malcolm X because Detroit Red showed up when they playing with his camera.
Oh, did?
No, they was like, hey, rep don't carry throughout decades. You ain't got no, you got that 40-year-old rep. And it was like, hey, go ahead on, man. You ain't hard no more. Knock it.
Yeah, they even said you lost your voice inflection changed. It came it wasn't no brother minister right there, was it?
Right. He was like, yeah, you just like us on that point right there when somebody took your camera.
Yeah.
So, man, the different characters, the way they introduced them, I thought was great. Angelo Dundee in the movie, which is the guy from Sopranos.
That's right.
I thought that was portrayed well. Lawrence Gillard, the guy that was, I don't know who he was in the movie, but he's been in tons of different things. He was in Walking Dead. He's been in quite a bit. I believe his name was Lawrence Gillard, I believe.
But don't forget Bundini Brown. They had him there too, poolside at the beginning of the movie. Mm-hmm. Bundini Brown. And if you remember the movie Ali, where Will Smith played him, you know, and then the movie where Jamie Foxx played Bundini. Right. You know, so that's a character. And they also had the fight doctor Bernie Pacheco was in there too. You know, so they did a really good job. Of big hitters in the fight game.
Yeah. All right, so as we get towards the end, the paper, you see the stack of papers, you see the autobiography of Malcolm X, and you see him like, my work is done. It was almost like in that scene, he was like, my work is done. It showed him running out of the house with the shotgun. I thought that was like a powerful scene. Like, we know, we see the images, we see him standing in the window with the shotgun, but to see him run out, to me, was like that put further images into what maybe that time was like. You got to imagine having kids running out of a building with the house on fire. You already looking over your shoulder, and he writes that autobiography of himself. But also, I wanted to touch on this and get you guys' thoughts. When they were on, I think they were on the roof, and he was talking about going to Mecca, and he was like, hey, you guys should go with me. And everybody's like, well, you know, I'm working on this, and I'm doing that, and, you know, I'm doing this acting. So it was like, I think he started to feel like, yeah, I am like the odd person out, because I'm the one that's really trying to move this. So I wonder if anybody wants to jump in on that one.
I don't know if he felt like the odd man out. I think that was another attempt at uplifting him. As he stated, I want you guys to have a different perspective. And to anybody who's left America and went across the Atlantic, you see a totally different world. It's a totally different situation. And we wax poetically about MLK and X being international. But like the book I gave you last week, Ben, Where Do We Go From Here, written by great Martin Luther King. He mentions the connections internationally and how Kwame Nkrumah, when Ghana was found its independence, he invited Malcolm over. He invited Dr. King over there, and how in Nigeria Malcolm X was speaking to the student union. So I think he was just saying, look, if y'all come over here and leave this Americanism, you'll detox yourself from being Americanized, and y'all to catch on to what I'm saying. Yeah. That's what I really think he's saying.
Yeah.
I agree. I want to piggyback off that point, because that's exactly what I was thinking. The worldview of life in general, but America in particular is much different than you'd ever imagine. So getting to other parts of the world was significant then, and it's significant now. You got to broaden your perspective. You got to broaden your horizons. You can't expand your territory physically if you can't expand your territory mentally. So I think the international play is big, right? Number two, to talk about what Ben said about toward the end of the movie, can you imagine somebody coming to your house right now, shooting it up, burning a cross in your yard, throwing a brick through your window, a Molotov cocktail through your window? Just imagine that. You got a wife and the kids in the house. Just imagine that. And whether you're going to keep fighting, you're going to keep the struggle, you're going to keep, or you're going to back off of it. Right. Some of y'all want to travel, so y'all going to go and get a vaccine you don't know, you ain't even down with.
Right.
So if they can back you off of that with a trip to Cabo,
that's real. That's real stress. Like we talk about, oh, I'm stressful. That's real stress, okay?
Yeah.
That's not, oh, I had a stressful day at work because somebody yelled at me on the phone. That's like I could have burned in a house with my family, with my wife, if I didn't happen to wake up or be awake, or whatever, how they got out of there. So yeah, that's another level of why I don't know when we talk about, like, if we're talking about the struggle now, is it really a struggle compared to what they experienced? Like, that's a real question that probably a lot of people don't want to talk about or don't want to bring up. But go ahead, A-Trap.
I think it is. I think it's a parallel because, see, like, it's one thing to attempt to get burned. Because, see, when you get out of that fire, you're like, I'm good. I'm okay. I made it. But what we go through today, we watch what I call a trauma porn every day on CNN, on MSNBC.
Fox.
I mean, because, okay, I remember in the midst of this COVID thing around July, you know how in the middle of the night you roll over and go, you may still be asleep. You just take that deep breath. Yeah. I got caught up in it one night. I damn near had an anxiety attack because I'm thinking I got this damn COVID. I'm like, so they in our head, and like, you can't hide from yourself,
right?
So it's the same thing. You and constant. We black men in America, we under constant pressure. Period. Yeah. So we are experiencing that whether we want to know it or not. That's why you see people like Michael Eric Dyson, what's my man, the notorious PhD, Todd Boyd, and all those guys. They keep telling us, man, you need to find somebody to talk to, because otherwise you're gonna jump. So I think it's equal. It's just a different version of it.
That's true, and I think a part of it is mental. Like what we see on TV, what we see on our phones, what we see everywhere, that stuff goes in, and a lot of time it does not end up going out.
Oh yeah,
it end up being like trapped inside, and that goes back to the movie, them really airing out a lot of stuff. Like, I don't know if they could have talked about these things with maybe their other friends. So that was another part that I'm just not kind of realizing, like, hey, this was like a venting like session. Sam Cooke left, but he came back. Like, he probably didn't want to come back, but he came back. And then another point I wanted to bring up was, and shout out to the greatest. Thank you for coming through the building. Appreciate that. Let me give us your thoughts on the movie if you guys have seen it. If you haven't seen it, you probably want to go see it because we're giving you a lot.
Yeah, we done told the movie, man.
Yeah.
Yo, man.
Gotta go watch it now.
A-Trap mentioned a term that I've taken some notes and stuff like that trying to get ready for this, and he used a term that I didn't include, but it made something jump out to me. Okay, so first of all, pressure, right? Pressure will either make a puppet pull a freight train or it'll bust pipes. It just depends on how pressure affects you. Ironically, Leslie Odom Jr. song for the soundtrack of this movie is called Under Pressure. And if you haven't listened to that, go check that out and check the lyrics out at the same time you're listening to it. And don't listen to it on your little bit of jam box. Listen on the big one so you can get all of it. But that Pressure, Under Pressure is a song that he just wrote. Check that out, man.
Yeah.
Strong.
So how did you hear the whole soundtrack? Because I was interested in how the soundtrack sounded.
No, I just heard that song, and the reason why I did is because I caught it at the end of the movie. They played it, and I'm like, boy, that's a jam. So I immediately, Shazammed it, put it up on Spotify. Y'all send Ben some money for them little quick nuggets, Spotify and Shazam. So I pulled it up right as the credits was rolling, man. And I'm like, whoa, that's a bad jam. So yeah, I didn't hear the rest of the soundtrack, but I'm sure it's worthy because I noticed today that in the opening scene, they come out with some jazz music playing. So music is a big piece of this too, obviously with Sam Cooke. But yeah, I bet the soundtrack is probably covered.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna pull that up right now. We may go through the track list, but in that scene in the movie when they're walking out of the store and the kids are like, hey, like, I know who they are, or like, hey, champ, congratulations. And he was like, I know they got money. And, he comes up to him and asks him for money. I was a little scene in the movie, but it was like, we all want to be recognized for something. And right. Cassius Clay at that time, he was, I think that was very important to him. Like, they're going to know who I am. And when the press started coming to the door and when he came out, like that was a major part of his whole thing. And as opening scene, I was like, this is the trash talker. Like everybody else says they talk trash. Yeah. He was the talker of all trash. And he did it to the very end. And he did it throughout his entire career. Even when he had Parkinson, he was still probably talking trash. You just maybe couldn't fully understand him. But
yeah. So let me give a nugget on that. It's funny that you said that. When he had Parkinson's, they gave him a World Freedom Award in India. And they flew him to India, and they brought him up to the mic. He was like, they said, you got anything to say? He was like, I just flew from Michigan to New York, from New York to Europe, from Europe to Africa, from Africa to India. And y'all gave me this little bitty award. This is what Muhammad Ali said. And, it took him long to say it. But so, yeah, you're right. Yeah. He was talking until he couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah. Anybody else want to touch on that scene in particular?
I got nothing on that one.
All right. The other point in the movie, and then we'll kind of just go round robin and give us any more thoughts you have. But the point where Sam Cooke was at that, well, Malcolm X was telling the story of Sam Cooke. He didn't have a mic. His band left, and the band was like, "Hey, we're not bodyguards. We out of here." And the way you do that, to me, that's like the essence of Black people. We don't need stuff. We don't. I mean, instruments is great, but if you've been to any church in your life, you've been to one of them churches where it's no instruments and it's a tambourine. They jamming just like John B. Key and everybody else with all the instruments and whatever. So that to me was like, that's us. Like that's what I thought when I seen that scene. It's like that's how we flip something when it's like nothing or little, and we just flip that into something else. So
lemons to lemonade.
Exactly. All right, so Dawkins, I'll go to you. I know you said you took some notes. Anything else you wanted to share or add?
Yeah. So one of the biggest messages in the movie, right, was the most effective means of achieving equality for Black men in America, right? That's what they were talking about. That's what they were debating, right? Malcolm X was saying, this is my way. Sam Cooke was saying that this was his way. What's the most effective means of doing that, And in my estimation, as men, so that ties into the song, right? How many roads must a man walk down before they call him a man? you want to talk about one of the biggest annoyances that I see if I'm scrolling Facebook or Twitter or whatever. If you was a real man, you'll do this. If you was a real man, you'll do that. If I never see if you was a real man post ever again in my life, it won't be too soon, right? It'll be too soon. So to me, that's the biggest deal of it, is that, you know, they really talked about manhood, and they were trying to signify what manhood was and what was the most effective way of being a man in our society today. You know, not just any man, but a man that can make a difference, a man that can, for me, leave a legacy, you know. And again, I think those were just the beginning of those conversations. And to me, the biggest message or question you walk out of in the movie, what's the most effective manner? And again, my answer is it takes all kinds. Be good at what you're good at. You know, we all have strengths and weaknesses. Stop focusing on your weakness and start focusing on your strength. If you can make your strength that much more stronger, I promise you, folks ain't going to look at your weakness. Let your weakness be it. Let it take care of itself. Focus on your strength and leave your weaknesses alone. And if we all agree to leave everybody else's weaknesses alone and focus on our own strength, it's going to be even that much better.
Yeah, that's true.
Man, hey, I know I'm the most handsome guy on the video, but I ain't gonna tell y'all that.
All right,
I'm pretty. Shout out to Kirby Alexander. Thank you for coming through. Larry Mitchell, we appreciate you guys. Give us your thoughts on the movie as we're talking about One Night in Miami, a great movie with Regina King. And I think the biggest thing that we all struggle with to some degree is comparison. Like we want to be able to look and say, oh, this guy over here is doing this. Now in this movie, as I bring up that word, there was a little bit of it, but it was more. I think it was more so them just sharing what I do, because they all had their. The great thing about this, they all had their different lanes. None of them were in the really. Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay, and you could say Jim Brown was in the sports lane, but also Jim Brown was like transitioning. So it was that to me, it was also great, because it wasn't like it was 5 boxers getting together, 5 actors getting together. It was different people from different things that they did. But going back to like comparison and kind of piggybacking, Dawkins dropping some nuggets here, is that we want to say, oh, I wish like I'm doing this. Like there's people that say, man, look what you're doing. I wish I was doing this. Like 5 years ago, it wasn't this. It was like me in a closet with a microphone.
Right.
And it's still growing. Like this still is not it. So like that's why I tell people, if you got a podcast you want to start, do it. I don't care where it is. Do it on your phone. There's so many ways that you can do something that you cannot just say, oh, well, because I don't have this, I can't do it because this person's doing it. Like that to me is also something I think we could get from this. If they have their own greatnesses and they were like pushing forward in their own greatnesses, and it wasn't like, oh, well, I'm not doing what you're doing. So I wanted to kind of add that in there.
Right.
Yeah.
But Wilkes, I'll go to you. And also if you got something kind of a takeaway, the biggest takeaway for you.
I think when the scene when Malcolm X showed up, when Sam Cooke was performing, or when they showed that and how he was there kind of leading, it was one of those things where Malcolm X was kind of in that moment like, man, if you're doing all this, just think of what other greatness you could tap into and what other messages you could send. Even though I know you're in the entertainment, you're in the singing your song and writing your music and starting your business. But like you just mentioned, there's more ways to get to that, I guess, that pinnacle of, hey, this is where you want to be. But along the way, give some knowledge, show some leadership, share these things. And I think that's the biggest thing, where it's like it's more than one way to get to that point that you're trying to reach. Yes, you're up here. If you can get a crowd to sing along with and raise their voices and stomp, surely you can get them to believe and share knowledge beyond, your wildest dreams. And I think that was a big thing, because Malcolm X, he's like, man, if you can get them to follow you like this, just imagine I'm watching you do this, but you're not trying to hear me right now in this room, but I guarantee you I can see beyond this. Yeah. So I just think that was a real big moment in that aspect.
And that gave us kind of an example of like how you build up a brother, because he was going hard. When he came back, it was like he went the softer side. So he was like hard, he was like pushing, and then he was like, I'm gonna come at you in a different form. And I was kind of waiting for that. Like, is he gonna come at this day, or is he about to hit him with the same thing? And then you see like, oh, I get it. I better understand it now, because you're not being as forceful. You're not more so as pointing the finger. So that was a great point. A-Trap.
One of the things that I really appreciated, and it's another one of those things that if you're really not paying attention and you have to be looking at other things, it's when he mentioned going to Baldwin Hills, California. Yeah. And it brought me back to the former drug kingpin, Rick Ross. You know, Rick Ross was one of the top 100 tennis players in America when he was a teen. And he mentions how he used to live in Compton and play tennis with Jim Kelly, which lets you know we don't have to be A-Trap and Ben. We have our own networks. We blow up and expand, right? We don't have to leave our neighborhood. We could just make this the rich part of town. And that's the working class part of town. And we can interact. And that's what I took away from it, because Ali knew exactly what he was talking about. Baldwin Hills, California, they gave Gap and everything. And it took me right to this documentary with Rick Ross saying, hey, man, I used to play tennis with Jim Brown. And people don't realize that Kevin Costner used to live in Compton. And so, when you realize what's going on, again, you have to look at other things, and we'll have, I know some of you have me on in the future. We'll continue to talk about these things, and how we can just take, like, you guys are from Texas, I'm from Chicago. We got people from all over the country, and on our networks, we got people from all over the world tapping into us. So if we can have people and countries that I can barely pronounce listening to us, what happens when I and Will tune into my network, and then some of my listeners tune into your network, and we continue. I remember that I think Will said he's my age, so remember that commercial books and so on and so on.
Oh, yeah, it just keep going and going.
Yeah, right? It keep building. It keep building. Yeah. That's that
to the white neighborhood to make it.
Right.
You don't have to leave that. Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's kind of like, I guess, what Malcolm X was trying to drive to Sam Cooke. It's like, you can make all this music, you can have these businesses, but you don't have to leave and forget maybe where you come from, kind of the aspect. Right. But you can build right here. You have the building blocks. You have the people that are hungry for the knowledge. As I've always heard, put it where the goats can get it. It don't have to be difficult.
Joe Madison.
Jim Brown, actually, in the movie, Jim Brown actually dropped some knowledge on how they are actually getting us to not fulfill our destiny once we've quote unquote arrived, right? He says they tap into our passions enough until we forget about what's really important. And I took that a step further mentally and said they do that in two different ways. The first way is that they get us arguing amongst each other. Right, black folks are some passionate folks. You get scared sometimes when black folks argue against each other. You don't know what's gonna pop off, right? Because there's so much passion in it, and then they're looking like, "So I ain't even mad." I'm not mad. We just talking, So that's number one, and we'll forget what's truly important, right? And then the second way is we're so passionate about whatever it is we're doing, and when we get some success behind it, they tap into our passions enough. I'm gonna make him successful enough to where he's gonna forget about what's most important. He's gonna start falling in love with this money we finna drop in his lap, his et cetera, et cetera. Oh, he'll forget about that other stuff. So again, they tap into our passions in two ways. Either we're going to argue amongst ourselves and the house divided cannot stand, or either we got so much in our lap with this money that we're too busy counting it and forgetting about everybody else.
Yeah. Wow, that's it. I wish they had a list of the quotes, and maybe that's something we need to come up with.
That's right.
A list of the quotes in this movie.
Yeah.
Because we did a Martin Luther King thing last week for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and we talked about a lot of his quotes. The quotes in this movie, I think, is things that we can put up on our wall and read.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Shout out to Information Man. Thank you for coming through. He said, right, put it where the goats can get it. Old Southern saying, but true. Thank you for coming through. So, man, again, another a great delivery and movie directed by Regina King. Also, Kemp Powers was the one that actually did the screenplay. And one of them, if we look at present day time, only one of them is still alive, and that's Jim Brown, who's 84. And he was born February 17th. And as we were talking about this movie, what was the date? So his birthday was somewhere around that date. Mm-hmm. So that's another interesting aspect of it when you look at the dates of it. And then kind of the thing that we didn't really touch on during this time is that he won the heavyweight championship like that night, and that was against Sonny Liston. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I don't have a scratch on me. Like that was that was him. And then he was
so much in my trunks, my mama can't get him out.
Right. Exactly. And he like looking in the mirror, and they're like, "Oh no!" And he was like, "What?" He was like, "I'm too pretty." He did a great job, man. I commend each and every one of these actors. I think they delivered above and beyond, what the expectation was. So it was, it was very well put together. Highly recommend that you watch it. I'm gonna watch it again for the second time, just because I want to see and check out some other things. So as we get ready to wrap it up, I wanted to maybe what movies are you guys? Because I love movies. I'm a movie buff, so I love doing talking about movies, doing movie reviews. But name one movie that you're looking forward to this year. And Wilkes, I'll go to you first.
I don't know many of the lists that are dropping this year, but I just watched that Godzilla Kong trailer. Man, that looked pretty nice. I don't know. I'm all over that monster flick. I'm gonna have to get on that. That looks pretty good. I don't know what they got down the list on 2021, so I hadn't really checked all the movies coming out. So,
all right, no problem. The one I'm looking forward to, the new Denzel, Little Things.
Yeah,
you already know Denzel is like he's starting to like tap into like even deeper greatness. Like
he's becoming a mentor in the movies.
Exactly. He's a mentor in real life and in the movies. And then you got Malik, I think it's Sami Malik that's in there. And what's the guy's name with the long hair?
Jared Leto.
Jared Leto. So looking forward to that one. But Dawkins, I'll go to you. Anything you're looking forward to this year?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to something. I'm going to tell you that in just 2 seconds. But before I do, you mentioned quotes in this movie. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, we know all the quotes to Friday. Why we need to learn the quotes to this, because this is something that can actually empower, encourage somebody, So I think that's what we definitely need to do, pay attention to that. But for me, what I'm looking forward to is Coming to America with Eddie Murphy now. Yes. I cannot wait to March.
Man.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to for sure.
I've seen the preview. Any information I can find, I'm trying to look. This is too. Is so much distance in between, but Eddie Murphy is Eddie Murphy. And, him and Arsenio, I think will be able to do a good job. Somebody said Judas and the Messiah. Yeah, that's going to be a good one. Appreciate that. Great review, gentlemen. I have to review the movie again with interesting perspectives. Definitely. All right, A-Trap. I know we kind of talked about
Judas and the Messiah and Black in My Own Skin, the Spike Lee joint with Nate Park.
That one. Yeah, American. Is it called? It's called American Skin.
Yeah, American Skin or something of that.
American Skin.
Killing an unarmed Black Marine son. So that's a twist in itself. I've served for this country. I come back and you murder my son.
Yeah. Wow.
That
Wow.
I want to watch that one on a Friday after you get off work.
Yeah, you watch that on
Sunday evening. I'm watching it Sunday evening.
Yeah.
Right. You don't watch that until the week.
And I'm gonna have it in the background when I get ready for work Monday morning.
That's gonna be your motivation.
You don't need no time to let it fester, get back into the world.
Man,
so great having you guys on, man. Great panel. I love to do this again, man. Any of you got any ideas? You got a movie that you want to do? A-Trap?
I would love to have us back on here. It's a show. It's a movie, a documentary about the Now movement. The power movement in Philadelphia called 40 Years of Prison. It's about this brother and his wife who was incarcerated until last year for killing a cop. And I don't want to tell you the end, but he's part of the movement that Muawiyah Abdul-Jamal, he was the leader of that movement. And him and his wife were incarcerated. And he got incarcerated, and his son had to be introduced to him in jail. He was like, it's this one scene, his son is narrated. He said, and I walked up to my dad, and his dad was like, do you know who I am? He was like, no. He said, what's your name? He's like, my name is Michael. He said, my name is Michael too. Do you know why your name and my name are the same? He was like, no. He said, because I'm your father.
Wow.
Hey, check it out, man. It's on HBO. It's a powerful joint, man. And it just again to retouch on the thing I said earlier about Ashanti tradition, having your history repeat itself. These dudes bust up into this house. They put the hoses on these brothers and sisters, and they were all about peace. They were in the community doing work. And Muawiyah Abdul-Jamal is still incarcerated. This is the Asada Shakur. This is the New York 21. All those movements that were just trying to do exactly what us four have been saying we need to do. And the police wreaked havoc on this movement. They had a building. They flooded the man. Just check it out. And if you like it, then I'm down for next Monday.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
So HBO Max, is it on HBO Max then?
It's on HBO. I think I've seen it on traditional HBO. I've watched it like 3 times.
Oh, all right.
I saw it when the night came out. I was like, 40 years in prison, man. I'm like, okay, let me check it out. It's powerful. Then one day I was just messing around. I ain't had anything to do, and it came on again, and I watched it again. And it gets more powerful with each watch.
Yeah.
The only other idea I got for before I come back on again, regardless of what we do, is that I got to get a cool nickname like y'all's. You got BS3, A-Trap, Whips, and I got my government name. So we got some kind of nickname or something, man, because people come knocking on my door. Y'all gonna have to keep
I was like, excuse me, sir. I seen you on a YouTube channel last night, and we're gonna have to come.
I just figured out why y'all had me.
For the people, man. For the people.
Hey, man. Any podcast we listen to, nobody uses their real name. It's like Fish the Microwave. It's Big Mo. Like nobody uses their real name. So yeah, you gotta get
you told the instructions, man. Hey, you can everything else.
Man, this was great. I'll give you guys as I go to each one of you one thing you want to leave us with. If it's your business, if it's your cooking skills, if it's your Twitter handle or whatever it is, you can leave that with us before we get out of here. A-Trap.
A-Trap B, built for this network. My brand is the End of the Bench. I do the End of the Bench sports tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Central. Saturdays, End of the Bench, Build and Destroy. And I'm in production of my 3rd show. It's called A Living History, whereas I'm talking to people from all walks of life, but I primarily want to talk to seniors, but I'm talking to people from all walks of life drug kingpins, drug addicts, convicted felons who turn their lives around, especially seniors, because I personally feel we lose about 100 years of history every time one of those people. Like, imagine stories that Hank Aaron could have told us right before he died.
Yes.
If we could sit down with Jim Brown and from St. Simon's, people don't even know what St. Simon's is. I know Ben knows because he was at Morehouse, but people don't even know what St. Simon's is. It's a former slave port, or an enslaved port, because I don't call our ancestors slaves. Enslaved port. It's a beautiful island, but you know, just imagine if you could just the oldest living relative. Everybody got their talking aunt or talking uncle or talking cousin who's a senior who could tell you everything. I'm trying to get those people on my show, record them, so we'll have a living history into perpetuity. So, hey, if you need to get in contact with me, at @HRAP_B on Instagram and Twitter, Brian D. Williams on Facebook, please reach out. I want to talk to everybody I can. I want to put it on the air, and so you can go to your son or the niece, nephew, cousin, and say, listen to this. This is what you need to hear.
Yeah. And I'm gonna put us all in a message group on Facebook. I know all of us are probably in a bunch of message groups, but I'll put all of us in there. We can exchange information. I think we're all on Facebook, so good. All right, Wilkes, you got to drop the handle that you post the most food pictures to, whatever one that is.
Yeah, no, I mean it's not much to drop, Ben, you know that, but I'm just here to really support the fellas, man. I mean, like I tell Ben at work, you know, it's like it's all about the success, and I'm there for it. You know, however I can boost it and wear a shirt or spread the word, you know, I'm there for it. So, you know, much success to the fellas.
Definitely. All right, Dawkins.
Well, first of all, I don't have to give my name and them because everybody in the world know it now. And I ain't wearing no T-shirts because they don't ever have none the right size. But the only thing I want to push, man, in all sincerity, is peace. And when I say I push peace, I want to push it to you individually first. So, because how can you contribute to the peace of our community, of our society, or of our world if you don't have it within yourself? And the other day I posted something. I'm like, if you operate in faith, love, and forgiveness, you don't have to pursue peace. Peace gonna pursue you.
Right.
If you push love, faith, and forgiveness, you ain't got to pursue peace. Peace gonna pursue you. And once you have peace, and that don't mean caring, because some folks think it means when they have peace, they don't care about nothing. But once you're truly at peace, then that's when you can be a productive, contributing member of your personal struggles, in addition to our collective struggles.
That's right. Yeah, man. And the great thing is, I know you guys from 3 different avenues. You know, A-Trap podcasting, Wilkes through work, and Dawkins through church and post church. So. You know, great conversation with each and every one of you guys. Have a great night. So, A-Trap, thank you.
Appreciate it, fellas. Wilkes, A-Trap.
Nice to meet you, brother.
Thanks for having me, man.
All right, y'all take care.
Good.
All right. Peace.
Peace.